One of the first things is that in a law firm, the team that's actually selling the service are the lawyers, right? And they have particular wants and needs for the way that they pitch and win business. But that doesn't always easy to produce those types of documents and aligns well. So unlike other industries where you could say, hey, we're going to train sales to use a set of technologies that's going to help them be more efficient. With legal, we're dealing with lawyers. They just don't want to learn a new set of technologies. So the first thing that needs to happen is that often gets outsourced somewhere into a business development team, which may, depending on the firm size, have a pitching team specifically inside of that marketing business development team. And that team is hugely focused then on producing the output that's required to pitch. But lawyers are incredibly picky about what those pitches look like. So a lot of time is spent going backwards and forwards with that lawyer to figure out, have we produced this pitch in the way that they want us to present or pitch that? So there's a lot of time spent collaborating. And then there's a lot of time spent finding the right information to go into the pitch to satisfy that lawyer. We need to find the biography or CV or resume for that lawyer and the rest of the team that's working with them. We need to find any experience that we have in this firm that represents our capability in that area. That could be sitting in a system like a foundation, or it could be sitting in Excel spreadsheets, or it's sitting in a bunch of lawyers' heads, right? So how do we go find that information, pull it in, construct it correctly, get it back to that lawyer, collaborate with them, get it out to the customer? That takes a huge amount of time to actually produce those documents and fully format them and collaborate them and get them out. That's where the challenge lies in that area. The first thing that we do is help them organize or integrate with the content and the data. So either we'll help them integrate with a tool like Litera Foundation or Intapp DealCloud, if they have them. If they don't, we'll help them organize their content and their information so it's captured in a particular way. Then we'll put templates on top of that so that they can use that information in the right way. And then we provide them with capability overarching that to help them collaborate and bring everybody together. With AI and agents, we're accelerating all of those processes, even the collaboration process, because we're making it easier for a lawyer to interact with the system and to interact with an agent without having to learn a brand new user interface to be able to do. So, for example, just ask for a pitch, ask for a capability statement, ask a question, and the agent can handle that on their behalf. One of the biggest ones is agents that are able to search into bios and experience and CVs. We can do that today if the documents are stored somewhere like SharePoint, but what if they're stored in Intapp, in Litera, in one of those areas? How do we get that search process to work really well, working with someone else's structure on that data? So having agents that can then read that structure and bring back information, that's one of the key areas that we're working on. Second point, as mentioned, voice. We're doing a lot of work with voice to make it more accessible for lawyers to just ask for a capability statement or verbally explain what they want changed or done in a document as well. And then, we're just continuing to invest in our in-office experience as well in the add-ins that we have, because the pitch team and even certain lawyers, that's a familiar environment for them to work in. So we want to bring all that agentic capability in there so that they're easily able to just move around and work with those features. So a law firm's value that they present to another customer is to show that they've done this before and they have the very best team to achieve that. That's how they win business. And often that's relationship based. That's through lunches, golf games, tickets to the Seahawks playoffs. Those are the ways that they build those relationships, by inviting their prospective clients to these premium experiences and getting to know them and build deeper relationships with them. So that's where they see value. Now, what's really interesting on the value side is that they often spend a ton of money on some of these initiatives. Let's say it would be buying playoff tickets, Seahawks playoff tickets for their top clients. They're going to spend tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on that. What they don't know from a value perspective is if they're getting ROI on that investment. And there's a huge gap and hole there for us to potentially solve in future, is to say, hey, you've put together all this marketing business development spend. Did you get ROI of that? What was the spend and what was the client increase, or the revenue increase, or whatever it was attached to that event or that activity? If you're looking to pitch and to win business, right, you need to pitch in the best way possible. Law firms spend so much money on client relationships, on these grandiose buildings, but those firms that don't have good pitch software produce very poor, non-compelling documents. So for that firm to win business, they need a tool to help them to be able to pitch effectively, to organize their content, and to present that in the best way possible. QorusDocs stands out because of our integration into Microsoft Office, because of our depth of agentic capability that really brings the time that it takes to pull these documents way shorter, and because we've been able to receive high adoption in some of the world's largest law firms, actually to the lawyers, and have them actively work with the system as well. QorusDocs works with over 40 law firms globally. So law firms' processes are nuanced and compared to other RFP bid pitch processes. The first thing is, anytime they're going to win business is essentially a pitch, right? So pitch is really this umbrella term that covers all of these activities. Now, on a small engagement or at the start of an engagement, they may use something called a capability statement, which is really just a very brief summary of their CVs and bios and some representative matters of what they're good at. And they might actually even print that and take that with them to lunch and hand that over the table to prospective clients for them to be able to look at and review. But then the process may become more formal, and it particularly will in large law firms that are working with highly regulated industries. So let's say one of our law firm clients was working with a big bank. In order for that law firm to work with the bank has to go to RFP first. They'll go to RFP to several law firms, and they're not doing an RFP for a particular project. They're doing an RFP on the law firm itself in particular practice areas. So the law firm will then respond to that RFP, and if they're successful in responding to that RFP, at any point in the future when the big bank needs work in the IP litigation space, they will now be able to go to that winning law firm and say, please pitch for this work along with your competitors to see who can win. So that RFP panel is a filtering process that narrows down the competitive playing field for that law firm in that bank, so that bank will only work with approved law firms that can deliver this particular service, and then they'll get the best pitch out of that. That's quite different from the way that a tech company works or an AEC company works. It's because legal is our biggest vertical. We've invested in the people that we have working at QorusDocs to help us be the best in this space. So we have experts like Nora and Tammy, who both come out of really big law firms and can now bring that legal mindset to the way that we build the product, to the way that we interact with them as part of the ongoing advisory that we provide to those customers. So we're really making sure that we're incredibly strong in law firms, but that we have the right people in place that we can all call on when we need guidance and advice on how to be effective there.